Good morning, everybody. Not sure what date to use because we've been working a little bit ahead. I'll use today's date. I'm hoping that all of you will get to this today. And today we're doing theoretical and experimental, sorry about that, and experimental probability. Okay. So to make it clear, I am going to show you the big difference between theoretical and experimental probability. Theoretical probability is when I think about it. Okay? So I'm going to give you an example. You first copy down the sentence. Theoretical probability is when I doubt it. For example, here I am, thinking very hard. Thinking. Okay? And I'm wondering on which side of the coin my coin will fall if I toss it up in the air. I think about it. And I tell myself, it could land on heads, or it could land on tails. I wonder what it'll be. And from theoretical probability comes a probability that we can write down. So if I go like this, I wonder what is the probability that I will throw heads. Then I will put the number of heads on a coin at the top, which is 1 heads, right? Because there's only 1 head. But how many total sides on the coin? So I've got, if I think about it, 1/2 chances of getting heads. I can also express this as 0.5 or 50%. Okay? So thinking about it is called theoretical probability. So experimental probability is when I actually go and throw the coin, is an actual action. Okay, it's an action. For example, I take my hand, I'm sorry for this hand, it's an ugly hand. There's my hand, and I throw the coin on the floor. Okay, that is experimental probability. I throw the coin on the floor, and then I can see, oh, it's tails. Never mind. So then I record what I have just thrown. So theoretical probability is the probability of throwing my coin. In this instance was tails. I recorded tails over the possible sides of the coin, which is 2. Now I can throw this coin many times. I can throw it 20 times, and each time it's experimental probability. If I do throw it 20 times to see how many total times I threw tails or heads, I can make tallies. I can go tails, heads, tails, heads, tails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay? Now I can actually tell people what happened. So they can say, oh, how many times did you throw heads? Then I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I threw heads 8 times out of how many trials? How many times did we throw it? 20. So if I reduce this and I divide it by 4, I get 2/5. And 2/5 is the same as 0.4 or 40%. Okay? So what experimental probability did me throw tails, had me throw tails? That was not 8 times, but the rest of the times, which is 12/20, divided by 4, and that was 0.6 or 60%. Okay, now what's the point behind this all? Is to tell what we think is going to happen next. If I throw this coin, then am I more likely to get heads or tails? Just think about it. Just think about it. You're going to go, probably tails, because that happened more often. But is that a given fact? No, it's not. So we're back to thinking about it again, saying, you know, there's still a 50-50% have tails or heads. So I'm going to write this down so that you know what we did. Okay, experimental probability, experimental probability can be written down as follows. Okay, the amount of times the outcome that I wanted occurred. So the number of times I got my wanted result. For example, if I wanted heads, I will have to count how many heads I threw down, right? So the number of times I got my wanted outcome, my outcome that I wanted was heads, over the total number of trials, over the total number that I actually threw it. So in my previous heads, tails, heads, tails, it would have been the number that I threw my heads actually at the top over the total amount of trials, which were 20. And if you go back to the previous page, that's exactly what we did here. See? We said how many times did heads fall? 8. How many total times? 20. What did that come to? 0.4 or 40%. Okay? So that is, in a nutshell, the difference between theoretical probability and experimental probability. Thanks for listening, guys.